Welcome to Bud and Weave with Wild and Steve. Let's go. What up, dude? Skirt. What up, dude?
Hey, man. It's a beautiful day in Southern California.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, 67 and sunny.
So
Love
a normal day.
I had to put on a
Regular-ass
sweater.
day.
I was a little chilly. It was 62 this morning.
Ooh-wee. So you busted out the QZ, huh?
Yep.
The quarter zip for all the boomers out there.
And me, because no one knows what that is.
Well, yeah, I'm rocking the hoodie as usual. It was 67 and sunny yesterday here. Went for a bike ride actually the last 2 days in a row, but today it is like 45 again. So that's sweet. But yeah, man, we're rocking. Spring's on its way. It's getting close.
All right, I had this second on our topic list, but I can't hold it anymore. I gotta share my screen and show you this. Here we go. It's happening. Open, you sucker.
You gonna show him the new logo?
Dude,
that was worth $5,000. Holy
that verse was fire. I wasn't in love with the hook when it first came out, but it's growing on me. I got it late yesterday. I've listened to it, I don't know, a dozen times now.
Oh my god, dude. He even busted out the mask, the raccoon mask, everything.
Oh yeah.
Holy cow, dude. That's awesome. So he sent that to you? He hasn't posted it yet?
He hasn't posted. I mean, I think it's one of his better videos, and I think he will post it, but he hasn't done it yet. Maybe he's waiting for me to kind of get a grasp on it, and I'll post it first or something. I might do because I can tag him in the post and do a collab post with him. So I might do that.
Dude, if he accepts that, that's huge.
Yeah, shout out to Froggy Fresh, Tyler Cassidy's Kissed Every Girl in the World.
And Killer Mike, or what's his name? His buddy.
I think it is Killer Mike. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Dude, that is unreal. Congratulations on the big debut on an international scale. Holy cow.
Yes, heard it here first. The only person who's seen that so far is my wife.
Yes. Dude, I don't know how that guy isn't just on international stages. He's actually got a ton of talent. And his personality is just so unique. He's a weird dude. Super cool and super funny. I mean, that's a hit right there, dude. I can't believe you got that. That is unreal.
It's great. It's bars on it too. It's not just any song. That song slaps. I want to get the backtrack of that so we can make another verse of it and extend it for a whole 3 minutes.
No kidding. No, is that going to be on Spotify? Because I'm trying to put that on the workout playlist.
I'm not allowed to put it anywhere where I would gain monetary interest solely from the song. So I can put it on a podcast, I can share it on social media, but I can't put it on Apple or Spotify or just that on YouTube. If it's part of a larger production, I can, but I signed a contract specifically stating I can't do that.
Oh, wow. There's contracts involved?
Oh man, it was official.
Wow.
It was great.
I'm blown away, dude. Can we watch it one more time?
No. I already X'd out of the window and I don't want to go back and do it again. So go to my social media. I'll probably post it I don't know. It'll be on there tomorrow or something. But
sick.
By the time this podcast is out on Spotify, it'll be out there already.
Make sure you put one of those little hidden tags on me too, so I can retweet or whatever, put on my story.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, that is so cool, dude. Congrats. Unreal.
It's pretty exciting.
Well, all right. I don't know how we're going to top that. The rest of this podcast is going to be super boring compared to that. Oh, my God.
I on my list of topics, I put it number 2. I was I can't leave with that. It's too strong. I just couldn't hold it in anymore.
RYL. Okay, so that was I didn't know what that was. That I figured it was some kind of surprise. Dude, that's so cool, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess let's talk about something else fun. March Madness is happening. I think we're in Sweet 16 mode right now.
Yep, my alma mater's still in it, Purdue. No?
I said Purdue.
I thought you said no. I was like, wait, did I miss a game? See what a big fan I am.
Yeah.
No, I love seeing a couple of the upsets. I was seeing that some SEC people in the SEC were kind of talking smack about the bracket, and then 5 of the 8 SEC teams got knocked in the first and second round. I kind of love to see it. I love the Cinderella stories. I was really rooting for Oakland. Is that Oakland, California? Do you know?
I don't know. What I filled out my bracket in all of 10 minutes this year, and I had to pick a random upset because one happens every year, and I picked Oakland to make it to the Sweet 16. So,
Wow.
yeah, but they made it to the Elite Eight, and I was like, wow, that would have been awesome. I would have won every bracket, even if that was the only game I got right. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I
but
think there are already 0 perfect brackets left
yeah,
nationwide,
it's crazy how that happens. Has that? It's happened like what, twice before?
where somebody actually picks it perfect.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
it's been
very,
only a couple times.
so if it's happened, it's single digits.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you saw Tominaga have a tough game.
Yeah, man. I kept seeing all the highlights, on Instagram and stuff. And so I went and watched that Nebraska game. And the one I watched, he was just, man, cold, 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 cold. I think they
He still
were
hit
really,
5 threes.
yeah, that's true. But he didn't have a light up game like with exciting highlights and stuff. I was kind of, I guess that's a high expectation to have. But they're kind of shutting him down a little bit off the dribble too. So
Yeah, I would say like that the high point for a shooter is if it's like if the other team is nervous for you to touch the ball, that's the best it's gonna get for you that day. Like,
yeah,
and that happened every time he played at youth. He hit one in a row, everybody goes, uh-oh. He hits the second one's, oh no. And then everybody's just not guarding anybody else. Like it didn't matter. And then if you hit that third one, it's an automatic timeout. Doesn't matter if it's your last time out of the game, you're calling a timeout.
yeah, yeah. His highlights are spectacular, though. I mean, they're if you guys haven't seen those, go check him out. He's number 30 on Nebraska's men's basketball game or team. But
Yeah. I think Purdue might take it though. I watched the second half of their last game and they won by like 30 or something in the second round. It's insane.
yeah, they looked really strong for sure. It was like you could tell in the second half too that they were just still consistent, still calm and controlled, and they didn't look all exhausted. I mean,
No problems, front to back.
yeah, they were just running, all strictly business the whole game. Even their secondary when they kind of came in with 10 minutes left was pretty solid.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that'd be pretty wild if Purdue got it done. So I mean, I thought it was going to be UConn, but now I mean, I'm kind of thinking, can Purdue and UConn play in the final game?
I don't think so. I think they're both on the one side of the
The
bracket.
left side.
Yeah, but I'm not positive. I need to check.
Yeah.
Check.
That would be a hell of a game though. UConn and Purdue. I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, even if it's not the final, that might be, the real championship game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, man. Wow, I still can't believe that video, dude. Froggy Fresh. What's all the stuff in the news I'm seeing right now about Diddy? I've even seen some people trying to connect it to all these Trump charges and stuff. They're searching his house. What's going on with that? Are you
Yeah,
up to
I've watched a
speed?
good amount of stuff on it. I think that stuff's really interesting. Also, I'm a huge fan of corruption.
A follower get not.
Yeah, follower. Huge fan of following corruption. But yeah, so I watched a good amount of stuff on what's going on. And so this is like Epstein level, stuff going on with P Diddy, and so it's like it's now legal. It's been documented. He's being charged with this. It's not speculation. It's not somebody said this. Like it is documented. That means that somebody has evidence that they're willing to back up in court that these things happened, and it's all the way from blacklisting artists into not being able to make it in Hollywood because P Diddy didn't like him or they wouldn't sign with his label, to child trafficking, to the murder of Tupac and stuff going on with Michael Jackson. It's deep and it's broad and it seems very real. What the latest physical news that I heard is that they raided both of his houses. He had a house in California and in Miami, and they raided them concurrently. So like at the same time, they had two teams go out and raid both of his houses to make sure he couldn't like call somebody and then and like get this out of this house in Miami. So they raided both of them, and so now he's in questioning. And they have everything that's in there. I think the one thing that's physical evidence they've already caught is that he has hidden cameras in every single room of his house. And that's kind of how he would blackmail people, is like he would invite them over to his house and do these ridiculous parties and have them do illegal things in his house. And then he'd be like, well, I have you on video doing X, Y, and Z. If you want to stay at a jail, you're going to do what I say, type stuff.
Wow.
And there's also like, homosexuality tied into it, which is, not was taboo in the 90s, but especially for the rap industry. So he would specifically target males and have them say, if you don't do this sexual favor, then I'm going to make sure you don't make it in Hollywood. And there's also stuff about maybe him sending kids to Michael Jackson's house, and whatever happened there. It's wild. So, and then after I saw that, there's a bunch of stuff that went back about, like, I guess 50 Cent was vocal about this years ago and just said, I don't know what's going on over there, but I want nothing to do with it. Because like he said that the first way that Diddy tried to bribe him was inviting him out to the mall, and like he was going to take 50 Cent shopping. And this was like after 50 Cent already had his big album. He's like, I don't need your money, man.
Yeah. I can buy my own clothes, dude.
Also, like, you're going to, like, of all the things you want to do, you want to take me shopping? Like, you want to take me to the mall?
That's
and
weird.
He was just really, he was really weirded out by it. And it's like, that's not like what a potential manager does with somebody. Like, you take him out to a nice dinner or something. Like, you want to take me shopping and go buy new shoes? Like, that's what you do for a girl you're trying to groom, not to a professional rapper. And then I think Eminem had something to say about him as well. And so I think it's blown up everything that is about him, and whether it sticks or not, he's pretty much, his name is done. No one's going to respect him anymore, just based on the allegations. It would take a mountain of evidence for people to say that this didn't happen, and he actually is a good person at this point.
Wow, that's wild. So he's held in custody right now.
I would assume so, but I don't know. I mean, he's got enough money where he probably made his bail, even if it was like $10 million or something,
Yeah. Well, damn. He's well, hopefully he doesn't get Epstein before everything comes to light, and then it gets swept under the rug again.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that worries me about this stuff. It's great to bring it to light, and it's great that we're hearing about it, but what's actually going to be done? Is this guy going to get put behind bars the rest of his life? Is he just going to have to pay a bunch of fines of people and just live in his mansion by himself and just not work in music anymore? Or does nothing happen? He pays a big fine, just goes on with his life and continues running his company and still has a position of power. And we'll see what the justice system does for us.
Interesting. So I've thought, for all intents and purposes, he's been retired since, I don't know, 2003. I mean,
he's not making music anymore, but I know that he still has his record label, which is like he'll help other musicians get produced and stuff, which is how he's held power over people. And it's like, like Dr. Dre was doing. He, instead of making music, he would produce records or help sponsor other musicians. And to my understanding, that's what he was doing.
Right. Yeah, signing other rappers or musicians to and then getting a small cut of whatever Diddy facilitated, success he facilitated through his record label.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that happened. I think the stuff that's the craziest and the stuff that really bothers me is, I mean, obviously it bothers a lot of people, that is the child sexual exploitation stuff. Even if you're not the one who physically does it, if you have any role in any kind of organization like that, it's like, I don't know, that I'm in support of the death penalty for people who do that. Like, it's just disgusting. And I can't believe we let the people like that walk on the planet. So
you couldn't agree more, dude. I mean, it's pretty crazy too. Like when that movie Sound of Freedom came out, Hollywood, I don't know if it was Hollywood itself or certain power players in it, but people trying to shut that movie out and keep it from, coming out, and the algorithm pushing it away from getting out there. I mean, it's just wild. That movie was like heartbreaking, and I mean, it's such a much bigger problem than anybody's ever kind of known before. As of late, it's been coming to light. I mean, I know Brandon Turner, his group, his Better Life Tribe or whatever. They give all their profits to child trafficking, combating child trafficking. They don't give their money to child trafficking. But like, I mean, dude, it's so unfathomable the stuff. The U.S. is the biggest consumer of child trafficking too, which is wild. Did you see in the news the human trafficking charge in Idaho that came out
I
like
did
2 weeks
not
ago?
know.
Yeah, massage parlor, that whole deal. The stereotypical add-ons and stuff. Lady got busted. The lady got busted. She's got several dozen girls that she's had brought here from China.
It's
Over
one
the
thing to do that. It's one thing. It's another thing to do it with underage girls. So
Yeah,
she was doing it with underage girls.
no, not in particular. No,
Okay.
just people who were didn't have identities, didn't have a family, had been in this life since they were kids, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Most likely, no family history or documentation of their identity, kind of thing, and somehow brought to the United States through New York or from the East Coast somewhere. Um, at least a couple of them had done that route that were documented in the news. But I mean, that's just kind of where it goes. There's no like light at the end of the tunnel for these kids. It's not like they're released. It's like that's the rest of their life, no
Yeah.
matter how short or long it is.
Yeah. I watched the Jared Fogle documentary a few weeks ago, and
Oh,
now it was. I would recommend people watch it because they kind of go into like the different signs of the early onset, like what is child grooming, what are they trying to do, and I mean, obviously it's terrible what he did, but I think it's important for people to kind of recognize these early signs to prevent it. And one of the things just was my kind of takeaway was, you remember how you think of like cool parents are the ones who let their underage kids drink and stuff like that, or they let their kids in at their adult parties where they're drinking and saying foul language or telling inappropriate stories. That's like an early sign of grooming someone because they're trying to get them comfortable with sexuality before they're fully developed. And obviously doing it with an 18-year-old is very, very different than doing it with a 13-year-old, which is what was going on in some of the cases in the Fogle things. Like they've got 13-year-old girls who they're letting them drink, they're helping them explore their sexuality by gifting them sex toys and different things like that. And it's just it I mean, when you look at it at service level, you think, oh, that's a little weird, and I probably wouldn't do it with my kid, but I don't think that's illegal. But then, like, all the other stuff that was going on was absolutely horrid. Um, and that's just the stuff that you can see from the surface. So it's good to watch that just to kind of understand where they're going in the beginning. But one more thing about Jared is that when he got he did have an unhealthy relationship with food. Obviously he was fat. And then when he got skinny, he developed a new unhealthy relationship with sex. And so they claim that he was a food addict, now he's a sex addict. And when he was traveling with Subway to all these different places and countries, he went to the Philippines, where I guess it's legal to have sex with a 16-year-old. And so he did it there, and then like that was kind of his brain when he was doing all these things, like, well, it's legal in the Philippines, why isn't it legal in the US? And like that's what he was kind of going with all this stuff.
justification.
Right. But I mean, the reason that he even knew it was a thing and got hooked on it, I guess, was because of traveling to other countries, because of the opportunities given to him by Subway.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's always a big topic at my house when we talk about this stuff over here, because my girlfriend's from a different country that has a different set of values than the U.S. She's from Italy, and over there it's like completely normal for a 16-year-old girl to date a 24-year-old guy. Now it's not normal for 15 and 45. That's not normal at all. But they kind of, rather than focusing on like one particular milestone like we do, like an arbitrary milestone of 18, it's more about the difference in maturity between the people. So that different cultures see it different ways, and balancing that in discussions on morality is really tough to navigate. But I'm definitely not in favor of a kid who just turns 18 and his girlfriend is 17 and 3/4, and him getting
The statutory clause, yeah.
yeah, convicted of something like that, because the maturity difference there is she's probably more mature than him, let's be honest, in that example. But
I remember that happened to me when I was 18. I was 17 and a half and started dating a girl who was 16. I turned 18. I'm like, wait, what happens here? Like,
yeah, that's super arbitrary, right? So it's like, do you have to talk to her parents and like get a letter signed, a contract about it? And I mean, what parent is going to say it's okay to have sex with my daughter? No one's going to sign.
Right.
So then it's, but yeah, so it is a little, the laws aren't like perfect, but they are in place for obviously a really good reason, and it's to protect young people from older predators, because most predators tend to be older, right? They're not, you don't have a lot of 16-year-old predators. Of course, that type of abuse does happen, but it's not as common. But yeah, I mean, we could do 10 podcasts on that. I'm sure there are podcasts dedicated just to this topic.
Yeah, we just talk about whatever we want.
Yeah, that's the fun part of this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
man.
our mom's listening. That's fine.
Yeah. By the way, hey mom.
Hey mom.
Love you, Miss D. Dude, your mom is. Let's actually take a minute and talk about Rob's mom. Rob's mom is so freaking cool, dude. We talked in the first episode about how we grew up in the same neighborhood, and I was always at your house, but your mom always was super cool about letting me crash at your place, and always making me feel like part of the family, dude. She's the best. She's the best. I remember one time we were gonna sleep over, and we must have been like 9 or 10, and it was like one of our first sleepovers, and I like brushed my teeth, went up to your room, and your mom's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "No, you're sleeping in the guest room." It's like all the way downstairs in the other wing of the house, like as far as possible from all of you guys. And I was like, "Oh, sweet! I get the cool like giant bed with ensuite bathroom. Like, dude, not bad."
How it goes, man. The joys of living in Indiana. You got extra bedrooms.
Yes. Oh man, dude. My a life update. I don't know if I told you this. One of my brothers is moving to Idaho. Did I tell you about this?
No, which one?
David. He's my middle brother. I've got 3 little brothers, and they're 22, 24, 26. So it's a 24-year-old. So I'm 10 years older than him. And so I change his kids' diapers, right? But he just left his job. He was working at like some kind of medical device fabrication company. They actually make them, and then sell them to Stryker or whatever. All these companies actually.
Did he actually leave his job, or did he get let go?
I'll let him tell it when we bring him on.
Okay. I know that industry, anything to do with technology is really rough right now. So, but sure, he can tell it when he gets on.
Yeah, I don't know all the details actually, but I don't think he was the only one who left. But I also think they were like kind of given option before there was like a planned layoff.
Like
so
either leave or you're going to get fired type thing.
I think it was something like that, but I don't want to speak for him. But he was ready to leave Ave Maria, Florida anyway. So he's going to move up to Boise and stay with us for 3 months, and we don't have like a spare room. We have we have a guest room that we use as an office, and so it's not super conducive for people who are staying more than a few days or like a weekend especially. But and he likes to sleep till noon, so yeah, we're gonna actually have him sleep in my son's bed, which is like a twin like loft bed for kids. So he's staying in Rafi's room, and Rafi will sleep in the guest room because he's an early riser, so no conflict with work there.
Interesting. Hope it works out great. When's the last time you lived with him? When you were a kid?
Yeah. Let's see. I moved out when I was like 17, going about to be 18. Yeah, getting ready to go to college. So yeah, that was the last time he was. Let's see, he was 7 at the time, so just a little bit older than Ruffy is now. Um, but yeah, he was one of those Gen Zers that lived at home until he was 24, um, which is exceedingly normal now, right? Or common, I should say. Not normal, but very common. And so this is his first time going to be living away from home too. He went to school for a semester, but college wasn't for him, and he didn't want to take on more debt. He started to see the balance of his student loan and was like, "Nope, I'm not doing this." He's like, if I got an $800 a month payment, that just means I need a job that makes $800 more per month, but I'm in the same boat, but with more pressure to keep that job. So, you
Interesting.
know, he sort of was, feeling trapped by it.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of bringing me back to, how did I transition to living away from home? And, my first experience was going to college. But, you're still kind of living off of mom and dad's bill the whole time. But there was still a lot that, like, I learned. I remember I didn't know how to cook for myself because my mom just always did the cooking. And, like, I knew very, very basic things, but there were some very basic things that I missed. The infamous call, I remember calling my mom, asking her what browning meat meant. I'm trying to make tacos, and I'm like, Mom, what does it mean to brown meat? And so she's just like, it means cook it, Rob.
Till it's brown.
Right, exactly. But like, you never know the things that you don't know until you go out and try and just live life on your own. And so, I mean, I kind of got thrown into it right away where I think it was my sophomore year. I lived in an apartment by myself because I didn't want to live. Oh no, it was my junior year. I didn't want to live in the fraternity. I didn't want to live in the dorms. So I was my first time. I would go home and if I didn't cook, I didn't eat. And that's kind of the life that I had. If I didn't do my laundry, it didn't get done. And so like learning to rely on yourself is a huge thing. And so I know that you kind of had a similar both feet first kind of experience. So I'm sure you'll give him that when he gets here. You're not gonna be his parents when he's there, and he'll probably hate it for the first month, and we'll see if he figures it out this month 2 and 3.
Yeah, yeah. Elena's been talking about this with laughter in her eyes. We're just waiting to see how much, if I'm capable of being, patient. Because I have patience with little kids, and but I can be a little impatient of a person, which is just a virtue I'm trying to work on. Um, but I mean, ultimately, this kid, I call him a kid because I still see him as my kid brother, but he's a 24-year-old grown man. But I mean, he's one of the smartest people I know. Who, yes, because he lived at home, he's maybe not gonna know how to work their washing machine because he's only seen one before. Um, so it'll be interesting, and but I mean, I also envy this kid because he's like an open canvas, right? He's had a few, really basic jobs. The medical device one obviously requires a lot of skill and knowledge and training, and he was able to do that really well for a few years. But I mean, he's got no debt, he's got no pressures, he's got no bills, his car's paid off. So
And
he's like basically financially free. I mean, he needs an hourly job part time to cover his expenses, and that's even including, if he goes and rents on his own. His total outgoing bills are going to be like under $1,000 when he moves out. So
are
I
you
kind of
charging rent?
envy. What's that?
Are you going to charge him rent?
No, he's here for 90 days. So no, but we kind of put that cap on it just to, I don't know, give him a reason to go get a job and go get his own place, because that's ultimately what he needs to do. He doesn't need me here training him. He needs to be like you were in that one bedroom apartment in Bloomington. Is oh, I don't know how to do this. How do I figure it out? I'm gonna call somebody who I trust, who I know does know. So that builds confidence too, right? When you figure things out one at a time like that, you just start to realize, oh, I can do all this stuff, rather than, oh, if I just leave it there, mom will take care of it, right?
Yeah, gotta gain that confidence so you can be a self-sufficient adult.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, cool.
Yeah, man. I feel like this wasn't on our agenda to talk about here today, but I love this topic. Is me and you were both raised with separated parents from not from a young age for you, but you were it was before high school, I think, when your
I was
parents.
like 11 when my
Okay.
parents separated. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So my parents separated when I was like one and a half, not even one and a half. But my stepdad was around by the time I was like 3 or 4. So I kind of always had, multiple parents, but I had the two houses, and you did too once you were 11. And I feel like kids who grow up with that situation just tend to be more able, they independent, I should say, not able, more because all kids are able, but more independent from an earlier age. So once you do get to college or that age, or the time when you're ready to move out, you kind of know that figuring things out is a part of life, and you kind of know how to navigate that a little better than kids who had a way more stable traditional family, right? Where it was one home all the time. But
I think
you,
it forces you to mature a little bit, and kind of as you kind of come into that consciousness of maturity, you understand things in a different light than a regular 15-year-old would. And
Mhm.
obviously I'm definitely not going to say it's a good thing that, if you want your kids to grow up faster, get divorced. That's definitely not the case. But there are, some things that come with it that, can be a silver lining.
Absolutely, absolutely, and kind of leaning kids who grow up like that, they can lean into that strength, um, you know, to keep making their own lives better as they become adults. So there are cons that come with it, but I was just having a conversation with Rafi the other day because I think he's old enough to understand it because his mom and I are separated, right? And he was a little upset that he's uh you know he missed his mom at day 5 of my 7-day turn, right? So
Mhm.
but we talked through it a little bit, that hey, it is tough, but that that's something that's going to make you stronger and more able in the future. And he was like, he stopped crying. He was like, oh, okay, where's the truck? Let's go play with the truck. So
How old is you said he's 7 now?
no,
6?
he's 5.
5. So your 5-year-old listens to logic and reason, huh?
It,
That's amazing.
dude, kids are so much smarter than most people give them credit for. One of my biggest pet peeves is people who talk to kids like kids they don't know. Oh, hey, how are you? How's your day? What are you learning in school? It's like it's not a dog. you know Save the cute voices for the puppies,
Yeah.
because kids catch on to that, and it's like, oh, I'm different than adults, and then they justify acting different than adults. But if you just treat them like you would your buddy, in terms of your tone and how you speak, and like an adult, that they will act like that, and they won't be babies, and they'll try to do stuff on their own because they think, oh, you're treating me like I'm just another one of the family unit, and who's just as important and responsible as the rest of the family and doesn't need to be babied or catered to. So he
How
brushed
early
his.
did you start that? Like, how early did you stop the baby voice?
I never started.
Oh, really? Never, not even straight out the womb. What's up, Rafi?
Yeah, it was always, what up, dude? Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. At Oles from day one. And I mean, he's a pretty independent kid. His mom and I separated when he was basically right when he was born too. So that's been his whole life, is he's kind of got to take his feeling of being home. It's always wherever he is, so there's independence that comes with that. So he's always been really good at putting himself to bed, brushes in his own teeth, potty training went pretty smooth. He gives himself a bath. He has for like 2 years now. Um, you know, Sometimes
Wow.
I got to remind him, don't forget behind the ears, like little details of things. But I mean, he cleans up his own messes, puts his dishes away, and I think a lot of that comes from just treating speaking to him the same as everybody else.
I think that's really cool because that's, I mean, what we talked about, that's a lot of what I struggled with, you know, becoming an adult and taking care of myself. Is like I would miss the details and I was like, who cares? And then I would get slapped with the reality and face the repercussions. Like I didn't brush my teeth well enough, didn't go to the dentist for 2 years. Finally went, and it was like the most painful experience of my life. My dentist was like, don't ever come here again if you don't floss.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, okay, I get it now. And now, like, now that I learned the hard way, but the fact that he's kind of, it's not learning the hard way, but he's understanding the importance of the smaller things. And, you know, that the fact that you're treating him like an adult is giving him the capability to act like one when he needs to. So that's cool.
Yeah, man, totally. Yeah, we're at the preschool that we own at Strive Academy. We're trying to push that type of culture with the teaching staff as well. You know, because I've seen some trends where a lot of other schools, they don't even have teacher positions anymore. They're all education or educational guides, or they're just guides. So they're kind of like, rather than standing at the front and lecturing the whole class on the same topic and going at the slowest kid speed, right? With traditional education, they're more so, you know, hey, here's the plan, you know, here's a stack of papers that's like, this is what we're going through today. And the kids kind of self-guide through it independently at their own pace. And when they have questions or need to be pointed in the right direction, that's when they, hey, miss or Mr. or whatever, can you give me a little pointer here? And that teacher or the guide will guide them to it rather than just lecture and teaching and that traditional model.
What's interesting.
So,
So one thing that I learned about school in my adulthood is it's not so much about what you're learning. It's more about teaching yourself how to learn. And so that's why I think like the different subjects are very different types of learning. So like literature is learning how to read from a book and understand what someone else is trying to say. Math is understanding numbers and what they mean. And, you know, history, and it's different ways to learn. And so as I got into college and did my MBA, I think the most important thing that I did that got me through my MBA was just taking a step back and figure out, okay, I'm not going to absorb the material as well if I just read it from a textbook and then try and take a quiz. So what else can I do to fix that? And I found out that I'm much better at remembering stuff auditory. So I would download an app called Speechify. And so as I was reading stuff, someone is reading it to me. And so I'm following along. But I'm not like, I don't know if it's because I can't focus looking at something for 30 minutes straight, but I can listen to something for 30 minutes straight. And I think if you guys can somehow put that into your educational strive, is different methods of learning, different ways to absorb material, and like having the kids understand, you know, I did better on the quiz where I watched a video first, or I did better on the quiz where I had a pre-test quiz. I think stuff like that would be invaluable for kids these days.
oh yeah, absolutely. The variety is really key too, because the kids kind of figure it out themselves, right? And then they're capable of indicating what they prefer even at a young age as 3 and 4. So I definitely a big proponent of that. I couldn't agree more.
So it wouldn't be a true podcast if we didn't talk about real estate at all. So we had 2 topics that we had talked about before we might have wanted to bring in. Is there one that you really want to do today?
I wanted to hear about your exploration into commercial lending.
Yeah, so I'll share a little bit of your story. You've got a project where you're building a lot of stuff around it, and so we need to do not only, you know, a large scale, more than 4 units, but also construction. And so I'll give you kind of a brief behind the two. Give me 1 second. The garbage truck is here. All right. So we'll talk about rehab loans and construction loans first, because I think that's the most simple way to do it. And we can do these on single family homes or up to 4 units. Most lenders will only do 1 unit, either primary residence or secondary home, not investment property. But what they do is that you can buy the home, and as you buy the home, you can say, oh, well, this house needs to get this fixed. And then as that needs to get fixed, you can't close until those things are done. So I think you had one where there was a drainage issue, and so you had to get a drain fixed before you could buy that property. And that was a very simple fix on a very simple thing where you could, finance it, get seller credit to pay $1,000 to $2,000 to do that. But sometimes it's like, the roof needs to get replaced. And so if you have a place that is just, beat to crap, and roof's bad, cracks in the walls, foundation might be issues, you need to replace some 2x4s, framing, those kind of things, you can buy a house, do the rehab costs, all of the rehab costs. The guideline is as long as one wall stays up, it's a renovation loan. And the renovation loans are much more lenient than the full construction loans. So you can do an FHA or a conventional, buy a house. It needs to be gutted from everything except for the living room. You can do that, finance it, and get all those costs financed into the loan. And then whatever the cost of the house plus the cost of renovations, that's your new purchase price. And you can put 5% down on top of that. I think in some cases, 3%. On the FHA is 3.5%. So parlaying that into the next step is construction loans. So say you bought a house and you need to tear it down to the ground and build a new house, or you bought a lot and you need to build something on it. There are loans for that for primary residence, second home, stuff like that. And whatever the costs are, you can do that. For those, I think you need to put 10% down, sometimes 15%, and it all varies depending on your loan amount, costs, and those things. So the next step, so we've got renovation loans, construction loans. Now we're in like commercial property. So if you're building like an apartment complex, more than 4 units, or like I said, most lenders don't even allow more than 1 unit on a regular renovation loan. So you get kind of pushed that commercial category anyway, which is a whole different ballgame. It's not regulated by the FHFA, the federal government, anybody like that. So it's just basically these banks will make up guidelines. They decide these are things that are important, and they'll give you funding based on what they decided is important. So the biggest thing that I've noticed is different between commercial and regular financing is that, for a regular financing, you'll take an application, send you my tax returns, my W-2s, my bank statements, stuff like that, and we'll do the required calculations. For these commercial loans, it's a lot like a DSCR product where it's, okay, you've got this project. How much money is this project going to generate? Are you, and they'll basically double check, are you actually, safe to do this? Is this a reasonable estimate for how much money you're going to make? And if it is, and you've proven yourself that you're not a total flake, a lot of them will require that you're not a first-time investor. So you've done this before, you have some experience, and then they will allow you to do, a vast variety of things, but it's not going to be the same low cost, low interest rate as the conforming regular stuff. For instance, the one that we're talking about now, it's going to be somewhere in the double-digit interest rate. Regardless of if you're the most seasoned investor, if it's the most sure thing ever, they're going to give you like a 10% rate. And so the difference is you're not sending your tax returns, you're not sending your bank statements, you're sending basically your resume saying, hey, this is the projects I've done in the past. They were successful because of X, Y, and Z. My expertise helped in these. And then here's the project we're looking at now. This project is going to be successful because I'm buying it at this price. I'm going to renovate it up to this cost, and it's going to, collect this much income after we do that, which will more than cover the potential mortgage payment, and which is exactly like a DSCR loan. Debt service coverage ratio does the debt that you're having, is it covered by the potential revenue of the house? And so as long as the potential revenue of the house is going to cover the new potential debt, they'll likely sign up for it and say, this is okay. You're not going to get a 4% interest rate ever, or even the current rate 7%, but they'll do it. And it's much more based off of the project itself rather than your credit score and where you are. I think they still do. They said they're still going to do a soft credit check just to make sure you haven't ran up a bunch of debt and destroyed yourself and got a 500 credit score. They probably wouldn't give it to you. But if you've got a decent credit score and the project makes sense, that's how you get a commercial loan done. It's a lot more documentation because that's not as simple as I know where to find my tax returns. It's okay, do you have a pro forma for how much this should do? And do you have a full architectural plan for what you're going to do? And you got to have all the details squared away. And there's still no guarantee if this is a good deal. The bank will still say, I'm uncomfortable. This is only his second project. He has, and his first one didn't do that well. I'll let somebody else do it. And there's no requirement saying, this deal makes sense and it's going to make money. There's no requirement for them to do it in the first place. So they can say no just because you gave them a funny feeling, you accidentally dropped an F-bomb in a meeting. They're like, this guy's unprofessional. No, go somewhere else. But yeah, so that's kind of my experience with commercial loans. And then you can kind of parlay it into the construction stuff, which, you have a lot more expertise in. But if you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed, and it's not your first project ever, you can usually get it done.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, interest rates have a big impact on all that too. And um, so when it comes to developing and building out a project, there's two kind of main aspects of the lending. There's the construction loan and then the permanent loan, or the mortgage. And to get
There's
a
That's one specific way to do it.
Yep.
So that's called a 2-time close. There are
Mm-hmm.
other loans that are 1-time close where they'll fund everything up front and just give it to you in stages.
Yep.
So what Steven's talking about is they'll give you a funding wire up front to cover the costs, and then after everything's done, they'll flip you into a 30-year, which is, I think you told me about this before. They don't even determine what the 30-year rate is at the end of it until everything's done, right?
So some of them, yeah, you can get a lock. You can get a lock in, but those are harder to find. And with volatility in the market, then those are going to be near impossible to, like right now, finding a construction to permanent where your permanent loan rate is locked in is near impossible. Now they might give you a max in there, but the max is going to be silly, like 10%, something crazy.
Yeah,
So
we'll do that all day on a residential 1 unit, but when you're getting to multiple units, it's totally different.
Especially because on residential, on like like we did a renovation loan like that, you start paying the mortgage immediately on that, the full amount. But with a commercial loan, you don't pay the full amount of the permanent loan amount during construction. In fact, I'd say at least half of them, if not more, you actually don't even make a payment during construction. You're essentially interest only during the construction period, and they just add it to the loan balance that gets financed at the construction or at the permanent in the permanent loan portion of the loan. So and they plan all that out in advance too. It's going to take 12 months to build, so they say that's X amount per month. If you finish a month early, it'd be less. If you finish a month late, it would be another month would be added to your balance. And that's kind of what it is. Once you get to the end of construction and you get what's called your certificate of occupancy, then your permanent loan kicks in. And a lot of those lenders will also give you what's called a grace period too, where the first 6 months after construction, you're still not making payments and you're still only interest only adding to the balance as you're getting it leased up. Because what a lot of people don't know this, but when you build an apartment, it's not like it is filled immediately. So the debt service is just not there, right? There isn't enough income from a 300 unit apartment. The mortgage for that is going to be $150,000 a month. So, you've got to get 200 units filled to be able to service that debt, 66% occupancy probably. So they give you a grace period on something that big. They might even give you a 1.5 year grace period. So, on the one that I'm looking at, it's 36 units. We've got full entitlements for it. We still need to get building permits. And I've been looking for a loan for that one for 6 months, just sort of casually looking. And, our one of our concerns is that once we finish construction, it's still going to take 4 to 6 months to get that thing completely leased up, or to get them sold if we end up just selling them as individual units. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. We should probably touch too on the difference between recourse and non-recourse loans. In residential, pretty much every loan I would guess is recourse, but it's secured against the property itself.
Except for reverse mortgages.
True. Okay. But in commercial, it's a loan to build something is secured against the property, but the loan cost, or the cost to build, is more money than what the land by itself is worth. So sure, they're secured against the property, but even if you failed on construction and they got the property back, they still lost a bunch of money, right? So what they do is they say, okay, the recourse is, if you fail, on the build, or the final build just isn't performing, and you're going to hand the keys to the bank and basically foreclose on it, the recourse is that they can then um, seize the assets that you've collateralized, right? Or the net, an IRA that's got a bunch of money in it, or stocks, or another business, or other properties. So the bank will always go for getting back everything they've invested plus their costs of seizing. So that's like a big risk in development is the collateral, the collateral that you have to put up. So somebody like me, who I own two properties, I don't have $10 million of equity in the two of them. How do I get a loan that would require about $12 million of collateral, right? So that's where partnering comes in. But in this market, limited partners just aren't wanting to do any type of recourse because the cost of the loan is so high. That money stacks up, it adds up, and if something doesn't go right, well, they've just risked twice as much as they would have in a low interest environment.
Right. Yeah. Risk is too high, huh?
Because they're the ones putting up the collateral, technically, in the form of cash or what they've bought into that property or their other properties, since they're signing a guarantee, a completion guarantee to complete the project. So yeah, I mean, having interest rates upwards of, for a construction loan from a local bank here, I'm getting quoted around 7-8% interest only for 12 months. I mean, that's tough to do because rents stopped climbing rapidly, at least. They've pretty much stagnated, but construction costs are so high. So it's been really tough. Any project that didn't start construction before the end of 2022 is pretty much dead in the water here in Idaho. Not dead in the water, but I should say stuck in the mud. Until things calm down and we stabilize, and interest rates got to come down a little bit for anybody to be able to move forward.
Fed said on Wednesday they still plan on 3 cuts this year.
Yeah, I can't wait. I've been looking for them.
I've been waiting since November.
Yeah. And the crazy part is too, once those rates come down, then the non-recourse debt where the bank or the lender doesn't require you to put up that collateral, those will become more common again, but their interest rates will be, right around that 7-8%, while recourse loan debt will be at, between 4.5, 5.5, 6. So, that's what's making it impossible right now, is that if you can find a non-recourse loan, they're going to be 10%, 11%. And that just kills the deal, because then, every dollar is going to interest, and all the profit is going towards interest. So
yeah, I'm just stuck on the recourse one. If you've got $10 million in a $12 million project, why wouldn't you just spend $10 million and get $2 million worth of loans? And then you'll cash flow so much easier.
Eggs in one basket,
Right, but
it's kind of interesting. We've talked to a couple of guys who have a $10 million net worth, and hey, it'd be $3 million each to just build this thing with cash. And the issue is that if it fails, then 30% of their money is gone forever, right?
Could they do a joint collateralization? Like, instead of each giving $3 million towards cash, could they each, put $2 million in an account and say, if this fails, you can take it out of that account?
Exactly. Yeah, but they're just not willing to do that because the interest rates are so high. If you get one issue where you get a 4-month delay in construction, which happens all the time, it kills the deal, and you turn the keys over to the bank. So, it's just a higher risk with the interest rates being higher. And what that's going to do is eventually just drive down the cost of land, so that, then you buy land for much cheaper and the interest rates don't hurt as bad. But, it just takes time to get to that point, because right now the sell, people who own land who are wanting to sell, they still want the price it was worth in 2021, which is in some cases 200% what it's worth now.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, I forget who I learned this from. It was Bigger Pockets, but you don't make money on flips. You don't make money on being the realtor, or where the money is made on any deal is on the purchase. Because if you purchase low enough, there's just gonna be room for profit, right? Because the renovation costs the same no matter what, the agent fees are the same no matter what, closing costs are the same. So really, where you make profit is in how deep you buy it. And the same can be said for development. We paid 1.1 million for 0.9 acres. Now that's basically a little bit more than $1 million per acre, right? But now acreage is worth 700 an acre.
Huh.
So that's $400,000 to $500,000 of equity that's just poof gone on our project, right? But if we had
Right.
bought it at say 600 back then, somehow we'd be in a fine position today. But
So I
good
mean,
luck finding
you can't.
land.
Yeah, it's just like you can't just make that happen. You can't will a good purchase into existence. I think the way that you do that is having an open mind, seeing different paths for opportunities. For instance, for yours, everybody sees a single family home on a single family lot. You look and find out it's already commercial zoned. That's a diamond in the rough, and you're getting a lot for much cheaper than what you could if you were looking for a commercial lot. So it's finding unique ways to buy things under value that other people can't see. Like I said, you're not just going to go out there and just, oh, this one's cheap enough, let's go do it. You got to have a unique way to make money on something or see something in a different light than everybody else.
Yep, absolutely. Well, cool, man. I just sent you over all the details on that deal, so I'm excited to see what you find. Who knows? Maybe some crazy guy out of California wants his bank to fund it. So let's go.
We will find out. That's for sure.
Good deal, man. Well, a lot of hot topics today.
Yeah. All right, bud. Well, I'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, man.
Okay.
Take care.
Love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom. Love you, Miss T.